Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
And we give you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Jet Manuel. And in tonight's game plan, it's all about the PBA as we kick off with TNT Tropang Giga's Game 7 win over the San Miguel Beermen to secure the remaining slot in the PBA Finals.
After that, we'll look ahead to the upcoming matchup between the two top teams in this year's Philippine Cup as we preview the showdown between the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok and the TNT Tropang Giga. And we'll check in with our Philippine men's volleyball players, Umandal, JP Bugaoan, and Polvorosa, who will share their experience playing at the ABC Asian Men's Club Volleyball Championship. But club sports fans, let's get in the game. The TNT Tropang Giga are officially heading to the 2021 PBA Philippine Cup Finals after defeating the San Miguel Beermen 97-79 in their do-or-die Game 7. Here are the scorers. R.R. Pogoy with 27 big points to lead the way. Mikey Williams breaking. With 22 to lead San Miguel Beermen in the losing effort. TNT wins it in 7 games. Now joining us to break down the final game of the Philippine Cup semifinals is 6-time PBA champion and PBA Rush analyst, one of my partners every time I'm on PBA Rush, Ali Peak. Ali, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing all right.
Jet, can I just say that he is getting bigger in a good way, and that his suit doesn't actually fit. He's now using a different one. I mean,
I'm glad you said that because my suits feel exactly opposite.
Okay.
Of what you just said.
All right.
I can't fit in my suits anymore. I can't even fit in this.
At this stage, he said he's not lifting.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's focus on this first. So Game 7 was. The final score says that TNT kind of dominated towards the end, but then the San Miguel Beermen did have a lead early on that first half. What did TNT do right there to finally put away the San Miguel Beermen?
I think they just held strong together. You know, one of the things I talked to Coach Josh Reyes about this earlier today. He said that Kelly Williams actually helped the TNT team kind of stick together, especially when San Miguel was starting to make their runs. So I think that was also key. The other thing that was also key was the young guys. It's been the issue with them. I'm talking about Troy Rosario, JP Adam, R.R. Pogoy, and even Mikey Williams. Those guys had to really step up in that game to really make the difference.
When you talk about the vets like Kelly and then of course the young guys, but 2 guys in particular, I think, for me, really stood up in that game. And the 2 leading scorers for TNT, 27 points, R.R. Pogoy, 20 points, Mikey Williams. What did you see from them and how were they able to contribute that much into that win?
I'm not looking at the points. I'm not looking at what they did out there in the court. I'm looking at this because we saw the pressure in Game 6 really affect each and every one of those guys. And like I said, those guys have been the keys in the success, also the future of where this team's going to go. Of course, there's Jason Castro. Of course, there's Ryan Reyes, Kelly Williams, my former teammates. But it really lies in the hands of those 4 guys because they're the ones that show all the promise. They're the young horses.
You talk a lot about the mental strength of the team, and did what they show in Game 7 give you more confidence for this team going into the finals in what is going to be another tough matchup against Magnolia?
I think, and I'm going to go back, I'm just going to relate this to my experience in our first run. Getting over the hump of San Miguel Beer is one of the most difficult things I think anyone is going to have to do.
I have to agree.
You walk in there, you're prepared. You know you have the pieces to beat this team, but then all of a sudden you step out there in the court, you hear the crowd, then you start thinking, can we really beat this team? It's really a psychological part of the competition aspect when you're going up against a team like San Miguel Beer. Now they're over that hump, but guess what? They're going up against another hump in Magnolia. Completely different types of styles of basketball for these 2 squads. that they're going to go compete, later on in the week.
So before we move on and preview that matchup, let's talk a bit about the San Miguel Beermen because right now we've seen the end of their run in the Philippine Cup. Junmar Fajardo, he got his numbers typically. Some people might say he's not healthy yet, especially defensively. What did you see from him and his progression throughout this series?
I think he did an absolutely incredible job considering, his condition. I think the whole San Miguel team did a pretty good job. But then you also have to look at all the other teams around the league and all the adversity that they went through, especially the team that they lost to, TNT. They didn't have Kelly Williams for the longest time. I think we have to sort of talk about the pink elephant that's lingering in the room. This team has been together for a very, very long time. Now, I've said this time and time again, and San Miguel has proven me wrong so many years, but this team has been together since 2014. That is a long span. We talked about this, Paulo. How long do dynasties last? Going back to the Phil Jackson era, normally these things last for about 7 to 8 years. More recent times, these types of dynasties last less than 8 years. So it's very interesting to see what happens, not with the entire team, but that starting five. They're aging. Do they make changes? What are they going to do? Are they going to reinforce? Are they going to revamp? This is something that they may not come out and say it and admit it, but it's definitely on the minds. It's definitely in the back of their heads saying, hey, we lost in the semifinals. We didn't get to the finals this time. Last conference, we had injuries, but we still didn't get to the semifinals.
And you're talking about Cabagnot, Lassiter, Chris Ross, Junmar.
They're getting up there. Yeah. Junmar's okay. All those other guys, something has to be addressed.
And that's, I just want to look at the bench. You have Terence Romeo, of course. You have CJ Perez. You have Von Pesumal. So you think it's the infusion of these players?
That's the future. All those young guys, that's the future. What are you going to do with all the other guys that's surrounding Junmar Fajardo? Because Junmar Fajardo's 31 years old. He's got a lot of years left in him. But you're looking at Alex Cabagnot, 37, 38. I don't know how old Chris Ross is. Chris Ross looks the same when he first came into the league. I don't know what he's doing. I want to know what Chris Ross is doing.
Get that.
What are you doing, man? But in all seriousness, a lot of these guys, you have to start looking at their longevity, which is great, but also the mileage. The mileage, that's something that needs to be addressed.
Well, this team in general, the San Miguel team, they always prove people wrong. And a lot of people will say like, hey, you know what, things are not falling off the wheels just yet. We were just one game away from the finals. But then when you look at this team, and let's pretend that you're the GM here and looking forward, is a revamp needed of the entire starting five, or do you think it has to be piece by piece to make sure there's a bit of continuity for this group?
I think it'd have to be piece by piece, nothing drastic, but we have seen that before. I'm going to go back to the Alaska Aces back in my time, where they took out Poch Winyo, Johnny Abrientos, later on Bong Hawkins. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But I think definitely it needs to be addressed. It has to be addressed because you're planning ahead. Of course, you love these guys. They've done so much for the company, but you're also looking at it from a business standpoint. And you also want to keep the fans happy. You want to keep management happy as well.
That's a tricky part, I think, right, Ali?
Yeah,
if
that's the tricky
you're
part.
balancing vets who are, they're still contributing. Look at the vets now. Then you have a lot of young guys that are ready to go. So how will you move those things around? How will you adjust, or maybe try to find that healthy mix that will keep, of course, the management, fans.
I think it's perfect that we have one of the younger host/analysts here and one of the more veteran ones out here to really put that all together, and that's how we put the show together. Also, this is the first time I found out that the elephant in the room is actually pink. I wasn't sure.
Is it pink?
You said it was pink.
Okay,
I don't
fine.
know.
Elephant.
But the elephant in the room, I didn't know it was going to be a pink elephant.
I thought it was pink.
But anyway, after the break, we're not done yet. We continue our PBA Finals discussion with Ali Peak as we look ahead to the upcoming showdown between the TNT Tropang Giga and the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok. Stay tuned. You're watching the game. Welcome back to the game. I'm Paulo Del Rosario. After another historic PBA playoffs full of game winners, upsets, and amazing comebacks, the dust has finally settled and only 2 teams remain standing. Take a look at the path to the finals for both these teams. The TNT Tropang Giga and the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok. TNT had to down Barangay Ginebra, the defending champions. The San Miguel Beermen, who were really the team that lorded over the Philippine Cup in the past decade or so. And on the other end, the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok taking out one of the better teams throughout the bubble experience in Meralco Bolts, as well as the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters as well. Now, a finals matchup between the two. The number 3 seed Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok will face the top seed, the TNT Tropang Giga, in the best-of-7 series to determine the best of conference. The stage is set for the 2021 PBA Philippine Cup Finals. As Jet says, woo! Still joining us here tonight is 6-time PBA champion, PBA Rush analyst Ali Peak. So Ali, we asked you a while ago for a bit of the, the guys to watch out for here, the guys that you think might be the X factor going on into this one. Since we talked a lot about TNT a while ago, let's start off with the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok. So one of the key players that you said are really no surprise. They're big 3. You have Calvin ABUEVA, Paul Lee, and Ian Sangalang. And when you look at the 3 of them, I think it's obvious that they have to do well.
Yes.
But then just at what level do they need to do? Is it the consistency that they're doing right now, or do they need to even step up even further than what they've shown?
I think they have to step up even further from what they've shown. I think one of the keys is the reason why Magnolia advanced was Paulie was consistent quarter by quarter. Elimination round, even earlier in the playoffs, he would kind of go to sleep a little bit the first couple of quarters and then really turn things on. That cannot happen against a very good defensive team like TNT, especially with their guard depth. So Paul Lee is one of the keys. He's got to have that offensive punch first, second, third, and fourth quarter, overtime, if you will. But then, of course, Ian Sangalang down low, almost unstoppable down low. That's going to be a really, really tough matchup for the bigs of TNT because his size, 6'7", legit 6'7", and then just dealing with Calvin ABUEVA. Calvin ABUEVA changes the complexion. I've said this for many years. He changes the complexion of any type of game, any type of scenario when he's out there. His energy. Who on that TNT team can match that type of energy? That's going to be one of the keys.
Okay, now moving on to the TNT side. I want to split us up into 2. You gave us 4 players. Mikey Williams, Pogoy, the guards, and then Troy Rosario and Poy Eram. So in their positions, the guards being the guards and the bigs, what do they need to do to be competitive to try to vie for that finals?
Well, I think they're going up against a very deep guard lineup. I'm going to start off with the guards first. R.R. Pogoy, Mikey Williams. This is all new to Mikey Williams. R.R. Pogoy, he's been there. He's been there quite a few times already. They know that they're going to be going up not just against Paul Lee, Mark Boroca, who's one of the tougher physical guards in the PBA, but then also the guy that comes off the bench, Gio Halalon. We don't know, Justin Melton, how his condition's going to be, but when Justin Melton comes into the game, he's pretty consistent. So those are a lot of the things that they're going to have to be aware of. But I think going to the bigs now, very, very important. We know that JP Adam, Troy Rosario, they're going to be able to get their numbers. If they come in there, their mental is strong. What I'm concerned about is boxing out. All right, now, TNT is one of the best at second chance opportunities, second chance points. Okay, but we saw what Magnolia was able to do to Meralco, who was number 1 in second chance opportunities, second chance points. They completely shut them out. All right, so can TNT overcome that type of situation with Magnolia? You're dealing with 6'8" Rafi Rivas getting all those rebounds. Then you got Jackson Corpus doing the same thing in Sangalang, Calvin ABUEVA. Again, can the bigs from TNT get up to Magnolia from that aspect?
I find that very interesting, especially with the whole second chance points. But then I'm actually also concerned about the guard lineup. Jet also had matchups that we're going to try and get to a while ago. But what I think would be interesting, and you could tell me if I'm wrong here, about the guard lineup of TNT versus the guard lineup of Magnolia, is that Magnolia are going to press these guards of the TNT Tropang Giga a lot. Maybe to a level that they haven't seen the entire conference. Do you think that could be one of the X factors that Coach Chot has to find ways to get over?
Yeah, definitely. I think making sure that there's pressure release outlets. all right, making the right decision once they get the ball across the court, not get into a frantic pace, not fall into the trap of playing to what Magnolia wants. I think pace has always been one of the keys for Magnolia, even when you're talking about when they're playing against Morocco. They controlled pace. That's one of the reasons why they won this series. TNT cannot get into that. But interestingly enough, TNT was #1 in steals. They're #1. They're one of the top teams in forcing turnovers and scoring points off of those turnovers. So at that guard position, those pressure point positions, it's going to be very interesting to see how they match up with one another.
All right, so Jet has a couple of matchups here, and Ali, I'm going to ask you later on if whether or not you think this is a good thing to look at, or if Jet's really just fooling himself here. So the first one he had was RR Pogoy versus Paul Lee. Why did you think that these two would be something to watch out for in terms of their matchup against each other?
Outside of Matthew Wright, I think these two are the best wing scorers we have in the league. Pogoy and Paul Lee. You know, Paul Lee, time and time, for years, we've been watching him just score in bunches. It's so easy for him, and that's his role that he's been consistent with Magnolia. And now you have the other side, so RR Pogoy, that just blew up in that previous game. It was 27 points, ending up with a victory. So I think this is a high-octane matchup that I'm really excited to watch. I think it's going to be a scoring matchup for both of them.
Of course, and you also have Poy Aram against Ian Sangalang. I think that's very obvious, and I think it's going to be interesting how Poy will actually try to contain Ian, considering how consistent he was despite all of the pressure put on him. Jet, your thoughts on what Aram has to do, in particular, against Ian?
Oh, he just has to do his best to contain him. He's not going to stop him whatsoever. I'm not going to expect him to, shut him down in any point of the series, but he has to do his best to stay in front. I mean, he went up against Junmar in the previous, right? So it's a different type of player, different type of moves and the way he scores. But he just has to do his best to stay in front, try to box him out, stay physical with Ian, and maybe it's gonna help their chances of success.
Ali, being a big man is your specialty, so your thoughts on that matchup?
Can be tricky. Poy Aram can't expect to be guarding another Jumar Fajardo in the finals. Okay, he's a little bit more agile, a little bit more mobile. But the biggest thing is, can Ian Sangalang guard JP Aram all the way out there at the three-point line? That's something that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, in the playoffs, have we seen Ian Sangalang defend someone that far out? It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, and we saw that a lot in the San Miguel matchup. Jumar Fajardo could not come out to defend Poy Aram three-point line, but maybe Ian, maybe more mobile, maybe might be able to do so. So right now the question is, we're not going to ask you for predictions of who's going to take the game in the series.
We won't do that to you.
Well, but what we'll do is that we're going to ask you who you think is going to take game one.
Wow.
No real explanations. No real explanations.
We didn't ask for the series.
Yeah.
Man, well, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, you know what.
I mean, water still run deep. I'm going to go with blue and gold.
All right.
Okay.
Because they both have blue and gold, right?
Okay,
So,
they both have
blue and gold.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Blue and gold.
How about you, Jet?
That's
No,
fair.
I'm now throwing you under the bus.
Thank you, Ali,
Oh
for
my
joining
goodness.
us tonight.
Okay.
Always a pleasure. Time is never enough with you on the show, so thank you. And Game 1 of the 2021 PBA Philippine Cup Finals this Wednesday, October 20. And when we return, we'll check in with our Philippine men's volleyball players Jao Umandal, JP Bugaoan, and Ish Polvorosa as they share their experience at the AVC Asian Men's Club Volleyball Championship in Thailand. Stay tuned, you're watching The Game. evening. You're watching The Game. Our Philippine men's volleyball team is back home following their stint at the AVC Asian Men's Club Volleyball Championship in Thailand. And tonight, Umandal, Polvorosa, and JP Bugaoan joins us to share their fruitful international experience. Mga idol, welcome to The Game.
Thank you.
Yun. Okay, good evening, guys. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. And in the spirit of me being younger than Pao, tatanungin ko yung pinakabatang member ng national team ngayon. JP, bilang pinakabatang member, gusto ko magsimula sa iyo. Kamusta naman yung experience? Kwentuhan mo kami.
Yung nafe-feel ko talaga is sobrang saya. Kasi, syempre, before, ang pinagpipray ko talaga is mapasama sa national team. And now, sobrang proud ako sa sarili ko kasi dati dinidream ko lang and now nandito na ako na nire-represent yung Philippines internationally.
Well, JP.
So, sobrang sarap sa pakiramdam na mapasama sa national team.
Well, JP, everyone's proud of you here also at home, especially sa pinakita nyo in the tournament. Now, Jao, I want to ask you, syempre, you come into a role wherein you had to fill in the big shoes of si Kuya Mark at Kuya Brian, and it was going to be tough no matter what. Pero did you feel that pressure going into that tournament, and when did you feel more at home sa role na binigay sa'yo?
Actually, di ko siya inisip na as a big role. Ginawa ko lang yung dapat kong gawin. And tinake ko lang yung opportunity na binigay sa kanila coaches. And ginawa ko lang yung role ko na as a outside hitter na kailangan mag-perform. Hindi naman mahigitan yung performance ng dalawa. Makatulong sa team. Yun lang. Yung laging nasa goal ko is kung paano ba ako makakatulong sa team, ano ba kaya kong gawin, ano ba yung magagawa sa bawat game.
Nag-reach out ba sa'yo si Mark at si Brian about yung role na yun? Or did you talk to anyone in particular about taking up yung mantle na yun?
Bago umalis si Brian, bago rin kami pumasok ng lipa ng bubble, and nagkita kasi kami, sabay kami ng training. Sabi lang naman niya sa akin is, Jow, ikaw na bahala. Ikaw na binigyan ka ng role na pumalit sa amin. Panindigan mo na yan.
Ang sarap naman no? Oo, Nami, yun, binibigyan ka ng responsibility talaga na ganun in the national team. Pero ikaw naman, 5-time best setter in the UAAP. Hindi biro yun. Oh. Kahit sinong tanungin mo. And then now you're in the national team. Paano mo naman nakita yung role mo, or how did you find your role na ito para sa Pilipinas?
Actually, my role was already defined starting 2019. As a kuya, one of the kuyas na setters, I always try to prepare myself and be ready as much as possible. And I think up until now, naniniwala ako na yung experiences ko before locally and internationally, they've helped me a lot para maging ready and maging focused in each and every game. And that's what the team wants and the coaches want from us. So that's what we're focusing on, each and every one of us.
Exactly. But I'm curious to find out na you said na your role, your role as a kuya. I mean, with JP here, what advice or what type of advice do you tell these young guys, JP and all the other young guys na ikaw yung kuya? Anong ba binibigay mo na advice sa kanila, especially na ibang responsibility from college to representing the Philippines?
Siguro, just to give your best each and every time. Kasi that's all you can do for yourself and for your country. You're not representing a school anymore or a club team. When we're here playing for the national team and for the Philippines, we're actually representing the whole country and the whole institution of the Philippine men's volleyball in our country. So we have to make ourselves proud, our families, and most importantly, the country. So yun lang naman yung lagi ko sinasabi sa kanila, no matter what, let's just give out our best and everything else will just fall into place.
Well, JP, you mentioned a while ago that syempre this is a dream come true for you to be able to represent the Philippines, and I'm sure marami kang memories but what experience for you will you take and siguro you look back on and smile every time you think about it?
About dun sa sa games namin kasi iba yung feeling ng locally sa internationally talaga. So yun yung pumapasok talaga sa isip ko na ganun pala yung feeling na laban sa international and representing the country.
Saktong-sakto, no? And Jao, sa mga laban nyo, kwentuhan mo naman kami sa mga, your actual games. Sino yung pinaka-challenging siguro na nakalaban nyo?
Siguro para sa akin is yung Iran sa Qatar.
Bakit?
Dalawa sila.
Oo.
Yung sa Iran is parang na yung may national team sila, yung last liga na nag-MVP, yung Kadubeten. Yung mas challenging sa akin is yung sa Qatar kasi yung utility nila sobrang laki, parang ako yung katapat, parang I doubt myself na kung kaya ko ba to, pero talaro ginawa ko naman yung best ko para naman kaya kasi makasabay naman kami talagang may lang sila, kumbaga ba, may advantage lang sila pag kaya nila pumatay ng bola, makakapatay sila agad.
Well, Ish, since you came into this one as a kuya, and we have two other players here who are taking on new roles in the national team, I want your assessment on how they did. And you pretend they're not here, ha? Pretend they're not here. You can say bad things about them if you want to.
Pero kailangan mo laglagin.
Ano masasabi mo sa performance nila and how they adapted to the team and took up the roles that they had to?
Well, actually, mostly positive.
Yun. Mostly.
Kuyang-kuya.
Yes. For JP kasi this is his first time, so it's really a challenge for him playing internationally kasi 2019 pa yung last naming laro, locally or internationally. And if I'm not mistaken, this is JP's first stint then as a national team player. So he did very well, I can say, kasi napaka-effective nung naging performances niya. And although I can see na JP and all of us can have a lot of improvements on a lot of aspects of the game, I can say that on JP and Jao's part, they did their part, and that's the most important thing. Kay Jao, ayun nga, it was very challenging for him kasi kinuha niya yung role ni Brian and ni Mark. Habang wala sila, he had to step up onto the mantle kasi kailangan ng scorer, him and Nico. And then there were games na halos wala siyang katulong kasi si Nico may injury. So may injury in the middle of the tournament. So he really had to step up. And I think I can absolutely say na he did his best and he did very well. And I think na come the next couple of years, he will be much more lethal inside the court.
Well, salamat Ish. We're so proud to be supporting you, and thank you, of course, for representing the country. Maraming salamat for joining us tonight.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you po.
Okay, and thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Jet Manuel.
That's here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.